Hey guys, welcome to Mitchell Makes Cardboard. This is my first video, and today I'm going to be showing you how I made the Darksaber from the Mandalorian entirely from cardboard. And it's very sturdy, lots of details, so let's get right into it.
This is the reference photo that I printed off, and you can see it shows, this is very helpful. It shows all the dimensions of, like all the sides, of the Darksaber, and then it shows a close-up image. This is going to be perfect because then I can tell how thick I want it and how wide I want it and how long I want it. So it's going to be a perfect image. And now to actual build. So I've just taken a piece of cardboard now, and I am taking my lightsaber hilt, my real lightsaber hilt that I got from Disneyland, and I'm taking it and making sure, because this is an exact length that I want the hilt, so I'll just be laying it out like this, and taking my pencil, and I can mark the ends of the lightsaber, just so that I know where they are. I'm going to do that 4 times. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're getting it exactly on, because if you're the slightest bit off, it won't line up, and it could be messed up for you. So 3, and this should be 4. Okay, now that I have those measured out, the lengths, I'm just gonna sketch out what I want as the main Darksaber, and I'm gonna cut 4 pieces of them.
So you can see here I'm adding a little angle at the top of the hilt that I want to make sure that I cut out. You can design it however you want. I'm specifically making it at the most angle that I can do, but yeah, so I'm cutting 4 of those out. So I want to make it look exactly like the picture as well as I can. So just try to line them all up like that. Okay, so you can see here that I'm gluing them all together, and you want to make sure that you're putting the hot glue down on the existing glued pieces, because it'll just end up being easier. So here you can see I'm adding hot glue along the corrugation on the outsides and putting a piece of paper along. And this really helps to make it look more like a real prop rather than just a fake piece of cardboard. So you just trim along and it'll be all smooth. So I just cut the top in half, and I'm adding a little piece that you can see to make it look like the trigger or lever or whatever that thing is. But I am just gluing that back together, and once I put the lever on, you glue it all together, then you can add more paper on the corrugation that's still existing there. Again, here I'm just adding paper on the corrugation that's trimmed, and there we go.
This is where I'm at so far, of the basic shape, and yes, and so what I'm going to do to add all these little details in, all these little things and all these stripes and stuff, I took this Life cereal box, and this is thinner cardboard obviously than what I've been using, and that's going to help. So for all these little stripes, when you look at the picture, this is barely raised, you don't want a huge sticking out, so that's what I'll be using.
Okay, so what I did is I just cut a piece of the cereal box out, and I'm tracing it so you can see at the top of your reference photo, there's this little triangular type piece that goes along with the angle at the top of the Darksaber, and it just wraps around and glues together. So that's what I'm doing. And for these strips, I just took a paper cutter and went along and cut out small strips. You can measure how you want. I didn't take exact measurements. I just kind of free-handed it, the measurements, and to see what I wanted. But you can always adjust what you want. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just taking these little strips and wrapping them around, and then I will add the long strips going down. So there are about 6 strips going horizontally then 3 vertical strips, all at different angles. Just make sure you're really checking this reference photo that you looked at for the build and making sure that they all line up and look exactly like the picture.
Alright, the main build is all done. You can see all the detail and stripe things are on now. All that is left is paint. So here we go.
Okay, so this is what I'm doing. I'm going to paint this now. So you can see here I have it, and what paint I'm using is this metallic finish. This is the top. It's shattered, but yeah, just any silver spray paint you want to use. And just gonna put it in here to protect the grass, even though technically it's already painted on, but whatever. So here we go.
Okay, so you're just going to add quick bursts of paint on until it's covered the whole thing on each side.
Okay, so now that I've painted it, I'm gonna let it dry. But you can see this metallic look this is the one I want. And yeah, so I'm just gonna let that dry. Once it's dry, I'll take it in and add the black details on it. And then we will be done with the hilt.
Alright, we are back, and here we go. This is the dried Darksaber hilt with the silver paint. Now we're going to add these details on it. As you can see, these little puffed out details and the black lines and the white. So I'm just using any acrylic paint. This is good. Just literally any white or black acrylic paint. And then I'm using a black puffy paint to add all the details, the small lines. So here we go. Okay, so you're just going to paint black acrylic paint on all these lines. Careful, try not to get it in between the lines. You want to make it the most accurate, again, that you have. And just go through each, making sure you have enough black acrylic paint for all the sides. And go gently along each line. Only on the bottom. The top lines do not have the black paint.
Alright, this is where I'm at so far. I have all the main lines painted on the Darksaber, and now I'm going to add these details right here on those light things and all these lines on them.
Okay, so you're just going to take your puffy paint, make sure you test it first so it doesn't come out in globs. Even if it does, that's okay. Just try to go really lightly and gently and take your time on this. This is especially important. You don't want this to look all globby at the top. Then you're just going to take rectangles around all these little square things and fill it in with white acrylic paint on each side.
Okay, so I'm officially done with the hilt. I need this to dry. Actually, I'm not done, I guess. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let all this dry first. I'll go back in with silver and make sure that it's all nice and even so that we don't get globs like that one. All these messed up things right here. Then we can add weathering to the hilt so it's not so shiny. And then I'm moving on to the blade. Okay, so now I'm moving on to the blade. So what we're gonna do here is the width of the actual Darksaber that I made is 4.5 centimeters. So I'm gonna make the blade that same length, and since it is offset a little, it will be the right size. So I'm gonna just take this long piece of cardboard that I cut. I'm gonna mark off every 4.5 centimeters.
Remind me to not record myself just sitting here taking measurements. I mean, look at that beautiful face. The agonizingly long. Just skip ahead.
Okay, so that should be good. I'm gonna just use 3 for now. And I'm gonna take these little dots and just bring one out here.
draw lines. Pick a lot. This can be made into 4, depending on how thick I want the blade. We'll see. I'm just gonna do 3 more down here. I can get the right dimensions. Alright, here we go. Now I'm just gonna connect these lines here to make one big long line that's straight. Okay, so for this, I'm just gonna extend this all the way down to there. So I'll just line it up on the line so that I know it's even, and then connect the rest. And by putting these 4, by putting 4 of them on, that will get it to a good thickness, and then you can adjust the reeds fine. You can decide what you want to do. I'm probably gonna do 3, but we'll see when I get to it. And there's a little curve thing at the end that slants in towards the top. We'll add that after we cut the main strips. That way, we can get them exactly aligned first. Alright, so you can see I have my 4 lines drawn. I'm going to cut them out, and then we're going to stack them all together and glue them off after we cut this slant that goes like this. So I've decided I'm going to use 4 of the pieces, and here they're all cut out, and we're going to use 4. This is a thicker one than the other ones because I don't think it's going to be thick enough if I only do 3. But you can decide what you want to do. I'm going to do 4. So what you're going to do with one of them is you're going to make a little mark at the top. Leave, I don't know, ish of room at the top. You're just going to take from there and slant however much you want. I'm going to take probably 14 centimeters at that point, and I'll go down until I hit that 0. Draw a line. There's that angled piece at the top. I'm just gonna cut that out, and you're gonna do this for the rest of them in a second. But you want to make sure that it's all lined up perfectly. So here you go. Here's this one, and it's that angled, and this is gonna be the blade. That's gonna be the end. So what we're gonna do now is you're just gonna line up these pieces so that they're exactly on, trace and cut every single one of them, and then we'll start to glue them together. So I've actually changed my mind, and I'm gonna do only 3. So if you have a 4th one cut out, you can use that if you want. So what I'm gonna do now is take this, make sure they're all even, and then I'm gonna just slide this back a tiny bit. I'll take one of them, 2 of them for now. Just gonna make sure they're still aligned. Flip it over. Make sure they're still aligned. And just draw this line down, and then I'm just going to cut this off so that it creates a bevel when I flip it over. You want to be able to do this because then you can put a piece of duct tape or something on the end that will make it so it is beveled rather than having a completely blocked blade, which is not what you want. So, cut this off, and then when I lay it back on, the ends still match up, but now there's this beveled effect. which is what you want. And I'm gonna cut this a little more so that these line up, because you want these two, or they bend like this, you want that. You want the two bends to line up. So you can just take this with it lined up and just connect those right there. And then cut that. There you go. So now I'm gonna make one more of those. All right, so now I have these cut out, and this is gonna create a beveled effect so that I can add tape and make it slant inward. So what I'm gonna do though is when you put it together, it's still gonna be flimsy because it is cardboard. So what you wanna do is I took these two dowels, these two skewer, I guess, and you're gonna just basically align them like this. Like that, and you're gonna cut around on this either side. You can take one of them like this, and you're gonna trace it out because you don't want that. When you look, you don't want this showing like that. You want to be able to have it completely flat but still be sturdy, because these will keep it from bending a lot. So I am just gonna cut a slit along here and peel it out, and then we'll see. Okay, so you can see I cut this slit and I put these popsicle sticks and cut them so that they're the right length. It's gonna be a little more sturdy when you glue them all together. So I'm just gonna add some glue in here. All right, so I've glued them all together, and you can see that it leaves this little sticking out edge right here that runs all along, which is what we want. And what we're gonna do now is I'm going to take a piece of tape and just put it all along here, and I'm gonna fold it over so that it can create that slanted effect.
Okay, so you're just going to want to make sure that you take a big enough piece of tape to cover the length of it. You're going to go from end to end and just fold it over slightly until it creates that beveled effect and you can no longer see the slanted cardboard pieces. You do this, just make sure it's down tight, and you could keep adding tape where you want. Then make sure you add it on the back side to cover up that corrugation.
Okay, so you can see that I have finished taping it all, and it's created this angled effect that's goes along and then up on the blade. And now what you're going to want to do is spray paint or paint it all white, and then we will add all the detail in. Alright, so while that is drying, I have the Darksaber hilt here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some weathering. And in order to do this, what I'm going to do is take my black acrylic paint again and shake it all up. I'm going to pour some in a little bowl and add a bunch of water to it so it's super liquidy. And I'm going to go along and just going to paint everywhere. Everywhere that there's silver, I'm going to try to paint, and then I will take a paper towel and rub it off, and it creates this darkened weathered effect. So that is what you want to do, and I will do that real quick.
I just took my black acrylic paint and mixed it around with a dowel in water until it becomes a not too thick consistency. And then I just put a paintbrush and covered it all and wipe it away with a paper towel until it creates that battle damaged look that I want. And you can cover this whole shiny area with it, no matter what part it's on, and just slowly wipe away until you have everything you want covered. Put as many coats on that you want, and make sure that you get all the areas that you want. Otherwise, it won't look as good as if you cover everything.
Okay, I've finished all the weathering, and this is the final look. All that battle-hardened metal, which I'm actually very pleased with. And it's a little bit darker, which is what the actual Darksaber looks like. So yeah, that's just the hilt. The hilt is done officially, and you can now move on to working on this. And this is the blade, but it was really bad paint which I used, and the grass was wet. Did not turn out good, but I'm just gonna use it anyways. As you can tell, it got grass all over it. Paint was coming off, so it was old paint. So I'm just gonna paint it with white acrylic paint once I'm done. But what I've done actually is cut a little round shape kind of right here. It goes just along here and up. And you can design it however you want. I tend to look, it's really nice to have a reference photo and say what you're doing, but you just basically just cutting a curve basically on the end so that it can curve out. And then when you put this on the Darksaber, it just looks super cool. So it's gonna go like this. And you can't tell, but it's gonna look really nice when I put it all together. But what I want to do now is add the supports on how I'm attaching it to the actual lightsaber. So what I'm doing is taking a wooden dowel, and I'm just gonna shove it into the bottom of the Darksaber right here. Like this, I just shoved it in there. And not only will this give this extra support, but it will let me stab it into the saber and will hold there. So it will go like this, stab it. So I'm gonna do one more. You can do however high you want, put it in, but I already have a dowel on this side, so I'm just gonna push that in a little bit. Till there. You want to make sure they're even, and then you can put hot glue around that and glue it all together so that it creates a even support system that you can slide right in there when you're ready to put it in. So I'm gonna hot glue these in real quick. Okay, so these are glued in now. You can see they're not gonna move. You can basically hold it and shake it. It's not falling out, which is perfect, which is exactly what we want. Now I'm going to do this paint job. So on my white acrylic paint, get a lot of that in there, and take this brush and just gonna apply this on, and this is gonna be much better. You can already tell it's much brighter than the other color, white, which is really good. I'm just gonna add a few coats of this, and you really want to make sure you're getting the edges because that's what's going to be showing of the white. So when you are painting, make sure you do multiple layers. If you don't do multiple layers, you can see these brush marks, which is not what you want. So I will finish painting this in.
Okay, so just finish painting over that all, making sure it's nice and smooth, and making sure that your brush strokes go all in the general same direction, covering all the sides and edges that you need to do.
So I finished with this, and I'm going to do the inside black part, but make sure that you smooth out all these little bubbles on the inside, and then we'll be good. And I glued a piece of paper right here, a white piece of paper, so that it matches, and just to cover up the corrugation on this, and we are good. So just take a piece of paper, measure probably from this edge in the back. You want to measure around 1 centimeter in. And when you do that, you want to start all the way at the bottom, and you're just going to go till here, measure about 1 centimeter in from the side, which is just this inside line right here. So you're going to start with, let's see, 1 centimeter, like this, and you're just gonna cut. So that should be, let's see, it should be about a 3 centimeter piece going down long for both sides. So I'll cut that out right now. Okay, so I cut 4 strips out, each 3 centimeters wide, and just the length of the paper. And I am just gonna line that up with this where it starts to slant. I wanna make sure that that's straight, of course. And that's what it's gonna be. That's gonna be that length, and that's gonna be all black and swirly. Okay. And this will go, rather that'll also be black, and then flipped over on the same thing. So what you're gonna do is spray paint these, just one of the sides, black on each, or acrylic paint, either way, but I think spray paint will go on easier for this so that it's not so brush marky. So I'm just gonna do that. So these are all now spray painted black, and when I line them all up, it's going to be like this with lines through it, and it's gonna look really cool. Alright, so to cut the lines through, you're going to take some scissors or an X-Acto knife and just go through and cut these zigzag lightning bolt marks, basically, is what you want to do. And then when you lay it all on, the white will show through and look like the actual Darksaber. So,
Alright, just line these pieces of paper, just 2 of them, on top of each other, and cut these lightning bolt kind of shapes out of it at whatever angles that you want, making sure that you take your time. You don't want the paper to rip. As you're doing this, make sure that you go in all different angles, not just one, either slanting up or down. If you're going across, don't cut directly across, otherwise it will come apart, and that will not be good. Okay, do the same thing for the next one. Take the last 2 pieces of paper and cut lightning bolt shapes out of it. This will make it so that it's a different shape, and so that it's not exactly the same as the other one, which will make it look different, and it will make it look much more clean and more accurate to the screen.
alright, we're finished cutting out all these, all the lines in these pieces here. And I am just going to lay these all out onto the blade so you can see. I do want to make sure that they're all lined up perfectly before I glue them down. Yes, this one. Okay. should be good for the length. Now the lines cut into it. So I'm just gonna take a pencil. Where did I put my pencil? Here it is. I'm just gonna take a pencil and mark off. Just taking a pencil and marking off where I want to cut. So this lines up there. Then I'm just tracing along this line right here so that I can get exactly where I want to cut. And I can just take my scissors and cut right along that line there. And when I lay it on, it should go just right. So there's that one. Now I can glue that one down. I'm just taking some hot glue. It's gonna be painful, but I just want to go section by section and glue it down so that I don't have so many things to glue down on it. So I'll just take the first section. Be careful because you don't want the paint, the heat off of it. And just you gotta work quick with this. As you can see, I did not move quick enough. But basically what I'm gonna do is glue all this down and take the other piece and cut it so that it lines up on the top here. And then glue them all down.
Okay, really take your time while doing this, making sure that you take every last part of that paper and glue it down exactly on. If this is not completely flat, it will peel off and rip while you try to swing it around, and it could get caught on something, which is not good. Alright, then you can just take scissors and trim off what excess you need so that it creates that slanted effect at the top. Then glue the rest down. Now you can flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Once you do this, you will start to see the general shape of the Darksaber. So here it is again. I'm just taking it and gluing it all down, making sure that I spend extra time on these difficult to reach areas. While I'm doing this, I'm making sure that all of them are exactly laid down and that there's no bumps.
Alright, so I finished gluing it all together. And this is the final look of it. And this side. So, and you can see I still have these on. And with the hilt, what you can do is you can take a sharp dowel and stab. I just took it and stabbed right where, or stabbed that all the way down. Just that way I can go like this, slide it in, and we all complete, and we're done.
There you go. There you have it. That is how you make the Darksaber from the Mandalorian, and all out of cardboard. Now remember, just if you want to make it extra sturdy, glue those little wooden posts that you have in, and it'll be extra sturdy. But there you go. There you have it. Please also like and subscribe if you haven't. That really helped me and my video creation in the algorithm, and I really like to grow my channel. So share this video if you want, but like and subscribe down below in that thing if you want to access my channel. Thank you.